Well, they finally did it. They made a kill team people actually care about. It only took 2 decades.
It only took, maybe more. Maybe more than 2 decades, yeah.
Welcome to another Lords of War Games and Hobbies video. I'm Chris, this is Jay.
What's up?
And today we just kind of wanted to talk about how is it that this time Games Workshop made a kill team that people actually care about? Because I have to say it's been a interesting kind of... the name Kill Team has kind of existed in like some iteration for like a really long time.
Yeah.
They've used it to kind of represent like the really tiny sort of like pseudo skirmish individual models fighting 40k battle since maybe like 3rd edition maybe. Was that the first time they had a Kill Team come out?
Now if I remember correctly, I think it was in the early days, just kind of like either a White Dwarf rule set or something like that.
Or it was like a throw in the rule book, like they threw in these like little way to play.
Yeah, or very slim, a small manual with just a few, and it wasn't even like unique rules. It was like you would have there would be like points limits. I don't know what the original, maybe 150 points kind of thing. I remember running some programs in the store at that time when we worked there, and then they added, I think, some terrain rules maybe, but it wasn't super fleshed out. It was 40k, but really small, like a squad of dudes. Yeah.
And I think the idea was always cooler than actually the thing itself.
Yeah.
Like at least for a long time. Like the idea of like building this like really unique kind of, and I think it was kind of advertised that way, like, you know, you convert your guys and you kind of add character to them and you only have to do like less than 10 models. So it was almost like a specialist game in that sense where you got to add like a lot of flavor to your units. And I think the idea of it as like a hobbyist was like really cool. But then when you actually played it, it was just like basically 40k, but with like just a couple models or whatever.
Yeah, it was a specialist game without the rules.
yeah, that's right.
Yeah, it was. So I would imagine it probably spawned as a lot of things did in White Dwarfs in those days, or whatever design team things, where someone in the design team was like, oh hey, I'll write up a little kooky rule set here. We'll put it in our publications and people will enjoy it, and that's kind of what it was. And then I think people did like it, and I know at the store it was a harness for new players to jump in, because it was like, oh, you just need a box of guys, and so that's how we got people to start new escalation leagues, get into the hobby. It was we used it as a little tool in the store, I recall, but it wasn't like an official. I don't know. I'm trying to remember when it was like, maybe it was 3rd or 4th head that it got a little bit more nuanced.
There was an edition, I think it was 3rd or 4th, when it did end up in the rule book.
It was in the rule book,
like as like a small little like almost like scenario, alternate way to play thing.
Yeah.
But you never sort of like had like kill team events or like kill team leagues, maybe even like they're really rare. And then Games Workshop subsequently in later editions would release like kill team products.
Yes, with that name on it.
With the name on it. And they had like sort of like, they kind of had a lot more similarities with some of those older products where they were just kind of like repackaged sort of, here's the same stuff you buy for 40k, but we've repackaged it and we put a different stamp on it and play kill team with this because we said so.
Yeah. And then I don't remember when they started printing some special cards and stratagems. This is where my memory's foggy.
This is probably more recent. Probably.
I'm just trying to think of like what 6, like those editions 5 through 8. What was going on in those? And I think there was some Kill Team, but again, it might have just been like, I vaguely remember a box that's like roughly the size of a combat patrol, which maybe came with like 2 small teams and maybe some rules, but it was still very, off to the side, like. Even like stores didn't really market it very well. The staff didn't really care. Some people played it a bit, and it wasn't until I would say the 8th ed, when 8th ed 40k was rolling and people really liked that edition, then they started this like newly skinned.
So that was the edition before this of Kill Team. Yeah, their first like real attempt to make a product, I think.
Yeah,
was,
and
right?
that one was pretty unique because it had its own rules. So like it was quite different from regular 40k. Like they had kind of like your guys could get injured and they had skills. And, The one thing about that one, though, that it was still built around the existing product. So
Right,
again,
right.
it was like trying to get you to take a box of something on the wall and use it. So that's powerful because you can get people into the game.
I think that's following Games Workshop history. That's usually how they like to release stuff like that, right? Because it means that for retailers, usually we like products like that as well, because you can say, well, we already have this wall of 40K models.
Yes.
Here's just a book that you can sell people that now opens up all these
Correct.
avenues. And I remember the initial wave of people were pretty excited, and a lot of people bought it. It was a pretty good book. It had, I think it was $50 Canadian, and it had the rules and the compendium in it.
Yeah, it had everything.
It was a pretty comprehensive book, right? So, but once again, like all the kind of editions of Killteam before, or attempts at Killteam, it never really took on.
No.
And it was kind of always hard to kind of get people interested in it. And when did this new edition come out? Was that with 9th?
This is 9th.
Was 9th.
It has the 9th,
Right.
The way the logo is, or whatever the 40K logo is.
Right,
is
right.
The 9th logo, yeah. So the big difference with this one, and I wasn't sure when this came out if people would like it, because they moved to set teams. So in 8th ed, it was choose your own adventure. You could get a box of guys and take whatever. It was just points. You spent points on them. And then in 9th ed, it was no, it's it's when you buy 5 Terminators, it's these 5 that come in this box with these equipments.
And if you remember, they put some serious money behind it, because remember they made that Octarius.
Wow, they made 5
video.
boxes. Yes, yeah.
Crazy video they put
That's
money
true.
into. They had that beautiful launch set with the Death Corps and the Commandos and the terrain. It sold incredibly well.
Still sells well now.
Still sells well now. The new starter set, the 3 packages, a great deal. So there was a real concerted effort for them to essentially, for the first time, put money into the product side of Killteam, I guess.
The difference this time is the box that Chris keeps holding up. It's actually often the first place you get a cool new box of something. So whether it was Death Corps Krieg models, these are Striking Scorpions, or new Marine Scouts, or there's the Imperial Agents box is very popular, or the Exaction Force. All these model kits are debut in the Killteam format before they go to 40K, which is that's interesting. And to no one's surprise, it sells really well. People want them because
Yeah, and I thought initially, I'm oh, people are just buying them because they want the units for their 40K armies. And I think there was a lot of truth to that initially, but what sort of happened, and I don't know that you can necessarily reward Games Workshop for this, because it was very organic, but it probably was going to happen just by sort of momentum, I guess. If enough people are buying the Killteam products to use in their 40K army, at some point, just through vast numbers, you're going to have people that are let's give this game a try.
Yeah.
And what we've noticed over the last maybe 18 months or so is there is legitimate groups of people that basically Killteam is the game they play.
Yeah, because 40K is a beast of a thing, right? It's very hard to easily wield it. It's their biggest property. It has the most things involved in it. So why not have a game that you can play on your kitchen table like it was designed to? And yeah, I think people are looking appealingly at that it's got the board game feel to it. You can kind of keep it all. It's you don't need a lot of teams. You can just buy the starter box, comes with terrain, boards.
It's got a lot of that flavor, that reasons people go outside Games Workshop and look for things like the Marvel franchise, the Star Wars franchise, games like Infinity. The idea that you can spend maybe a week or two painting 10 models, have a fulfilling enjoyment, you can play with those for a few months, and then you could move on to something else completely, get a brand new flavor of something, and it's pretty inexpensive.
Yeah.
And then the actual time you have to spend doing it is pretty low, right? So I think there's a lot of value in products like that, and we've always dabbled in things like that as well, especially as you get older too, right? You have less time.
Yeah, I think what's interesting is maybe because it's a 40K property, Games Workshop they have their sister games, which would be Warcry, maybe Underworlds, and they, funny enough, I don't see them played as much. I think they're more. But people still buy up the kits because it's, again, the spot where certain things debut and only show up there before
Right.
So that formula is working. Turns out if you make desirable models and you can then shoehorn them or put rules built around it, and it will work or whatever.
For sure. Yeah. There's always that chicken and egg kind of thing. It's like, do cool models sell the game, or do the rules sell the game, the models, right? Like, people are always asking.
I think Games Workshop has proven that the models are what's driving, because how often do people have issues with rule this and rule that and meta this and that, and but they're still sticking with it because they live the minis and they keep buying the new minis regardless of what's going on in the rules world. So I don't know, that's my take on it. And they've always said that we're a miniature company first and then a rules company second, right? So I don't know. Yeah, it's I think at least that's why I assume it's doing well. I mean I need a box or whatever this, like
yeah, I know our friends and I are like, we were all talking about after getting back from Adepticon, we're all going to dive into Killteam. We're all excited because it is that like interesting proposition of like, they've just done such a good job with the miniatures that it's almost an irresistible game at this point for people that love to paint.
Yeah.
Like, you look at like some of the unique things like the Kroot, like they have like Navy guys, there's like Inquisitor Warband, like all the things you could just like fantasize about as a 40K player. Yeah. And I think it's a really cool ideological sort of experiment, because like it lets Games Workshop do things they normally probably wouldn't spend money on. Yeah. Because it's safer somehow. Because it has the extra way people can buy it and play with it.
Yes.
It's almost like it guarantees a certain amount of extra sales that they can make, even if it's a really niche thing.
Yeah.
So
now I wonder if they're going to do, because they did this last time. I don't know if this worked at all. If they're going to do what do you call it? They did like Heroes.
Right. The expansions. They did like the Elites expansion, then they did the HQ expansion. Yeah.
Which this is a little different, because these are like set teams that you buy in a box. I mean, I'm sure they'll expand it with some gimmick. Like, that's almost guaranteed. But how they're going to go about it?
Yeah, because it's been out, like this new version, I want to say, is like probably close to what, 3 years old now?
I mean, if it came out in 9th, probably the second year of 9th, then in theory, a new version or an expansion would be due like next year, or maybe this, I don't know.
Either like late this year, or
maybe later this summer, maybe like in that after AOS gets released or whatever. I don't know. That's a good question, if they're going to do anything with it or what. But I don't know. Their hopper's so full of things that who knows.
Yeah, exactly. So well, I mean, yeah, we just wanted to kind of touch on it. Like, we're pretty impressed with just the product overall. Like, we try to be really objective about this sort of thing. So like, a lot of time we're not talking about our own experiences. We're talking more about like just feedback we get from customers and just like kind of observing sort of like the greater trends of what's going on. So what do you guys think? Do you guys play Killteam? Do you like the models? What Killteams are you hoping to come out? Because there's obviously a lot, like, wish lists are getting fulfilled with Killteam for sure.
Yeah.
You look at the Night Lords and Mandrakes coming up. Like,
yes. And I think Vespid was potentially on the docket, which would be really
Vespids and Swooping Hawks, maybe?
Something
like the Battle of the Skies or something.
That would be kind of
cool. That'd be pretty neat, right?
Yeah. They're not going to give us another aspect in the same year. That would just be...
No, Eldar players have to wait.
It's the slowest drip for
such a drip feed.
Once a year, yeah. It gives me time to finish them, which is good. If they gave them all to me, I wouldn't be able to finish
Warp Spiders 2029.
Oh, yeah. That's the... Yeah, you know they're going to sell those like 3 in a box or something.
Oh,
make you buy 4 boxes.
Whew.
Actually, they probably should, because they probably shouldn't be. They should be probably bigger anyway.
Yeah. Well, we hope you enjoyed this. Enjoy this little touch on Killteam. We'll probably touch on other little side games just to kind of see where they're at, see how they're doing, and talk about our own experiences. And maybe we'll do a little follow-up video when we've played a few months of the game and give our thoughts.
Yeah.
You can support us on Patreon. We have that link below. Like and subscribe to the video. That helps us out a lot. Take care until next time, guys.
Thanks.
Cheers.